everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Took a couple of days off. Figured it was time to go ahead and get back at it. I've been watching some NFL, but the games are almost at halftime, so I figured I'd come on here and chit chat for a while about some college football. If you were not at SWA last night, you missed a great show. It was our annual Toys for Tots show. We do that every year in December where we ask all the fans and the workers too, if they want to, but definitely the fans to bring an unwrapped toy for all the needy kids in the area that without us would not have any toys this Christmas. Hey there, Austin. Glad to have you here. So another great show at SWA last night as we continue to build toward our next big show, which is coming up in February. It'll be called Reloaded. If you come on here live, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure you give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms. But I want to talk some college football today. First, I think I kind of feel like I'm living in the twilight zone. I am fantastic, Austin. Thank you for asking, because we have Rich Rodriguez now going back to West Virginia for the second time. We have Scott Frost going back to Central Florida for the second time. And I was talking to a Tar Heel fan Friday, and they're talking about how they don't think the Bill Belichick thing is going to work because outside of Tom Brady, Bill Belichick never achieved anything as a coach, which he didn't. But he's also never coached in college, so you really can't compare what he'd done before in college because he's never coached in college before. But Mac Brown was a career 7.5, 8-win coach, and I think Bill Belichick can do that. But North Carolina has not won the ACC since, I believe, 1980, I think. So almost 45 years. So if Bill Belichick comes there and wins the conference one time, it's worth it because you're not winning the conference without him. But he's not going to be there but a handful of years. So it's not like he's going to be a complete failure for the next decade. He's not going to be there that long. But I do believe it's either going to work and he's going to be coaching a top 5, top 10 team, or it's going to be an unmitigated disaster. And after year 2, you're going to be like, boy, that was a bad mistake. One of the two. No in between. It's either going to work and he wins the conference, or it's going to be a complete failure and he wins 4 games. He's not going to win a national championship, but if he can win the conference one time, then the hire is definitely worth it. Hey there, HM. Glad to have you here. Hey there, Antonio. Glad to have you here. Thank y'all for being here in Austin. I have not watched main event yet. I will get around to it. I've read about it and seen the highlights of it, but I have not watched it in its entirety as of yet, but I will get around to it. But in case you do not watch any of the NFL, first of all, you should. But second of all, Thursday night in the Thursday night football game. Hey there, PK. Glad to have you here. I'm from the deep, deep south in a state called Georgia. Thank you for asking. Y'all can get up, boys. Y'all can get up, okay? Just don't bring the music in here, okay? But y'all can get up if y'all want to. You don't have to. The 49ers lost in Thursday night football, but they had a player named Devondre Campbell that basically in the middle of the game, the coach told him, hey, go in the game, and he decided not to. I think he just got mad that he was not the first linebacker on the depth chart, but there's a rumor going around, it's been going around since Friday morning, that he told some of his teammates on the sideline that he looked in the mirror and decided that he is too pretty to play football. Now, if he said that, props to the guy, because I'm the same way. I can't mess up this pretty moneymaker right here. But it's sad that you make that kind of money and you all of a sudden decide that you're too pretty to play football. Like, did you not see until Thursday night what you look like? Did you not know how you looked? Were you not aware of what your face looked like? So I think that was just his way of trying to be funny instead of coming out and saying, hey, I'm mad that I'm not first on the depth charts. I'm going to pack my bags and be a baby and I'm going to go home. But see, the 49ers have been a perennial playoff team and a Super Bowl threat the last few years. When you're winning like that, problems like this don't surface, don't get talked about. But all of a sudden, when you're not winning, they come about. And this year, more than likely, they are not going to the playoffs. I reffed 6 matches last night, Austin. Hey there, Marcus. I am fantastic as always. Hope you are as well. But this week, in the world of college football, bowl games. I'm going to do these weekly because some weeks there's 3 or 4 bowl games and some weeks there's 20. And I don't want to get too far ahead or too far behind and you get confused on what bowl game is when. So we'll just do this every week. This week, Tuesday night at 9 o'clock, we have the Coffee Bowl on ESPN. It's played in Frisco, Texas. It'll be Memphis and West Virginia. That should actually be a pretty doggone good football game. Wednesday, 5:30, we have the Boca Raton Bowl. Now, I mentioned the last bowl game was in Frisco, Texas. Some of these bowl games, I'm not going to tell you where they're played at because if you can't figure it out by the name of the bowl game, there's no hope for you. But Wednesday at 5:30, we have the Boca Raton Bowl. That is Western Kentucky and James Madison. And then after that, at 9 o'clock, Wednesday night, we have the Art of Sport LA Bowl. That's California and UNLV. Then coming up on Thursday at 7 o'clock, we have the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl, and that is Georgia Southern and Sam Houston State. Friday at noon, we have the Staff DNA Cure Bowl from Orlando. That is Ohio and Jacksonville State. And then after that, Friday at 3:30, we have the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl. And that bowl game is in Tampa, and that is Tulane and Florida. Hey, Dusty, you're new to the channel. Just joined. Appreciate that, brother. Here we talk college football, NFL, NASCAR, NBA, Major League Baseball, college basketball, professional wrestling, and about anything else in the world of major sports. As of yet, I don't talk lacrosse and track and field and things like that because I don't feel like the channel is big enough yet to talk about those sports. And I don't want to come on here and do a video and get 2 or 3 views. So right now, I try to focus on the main popular sports. But I also do top 10 countdowns about every week, and some of those are about sports. Some are about wrestling. Some are about movies. Some are about music. Some are about vacation. So my top 10 countdowns aren't always about sports. But here on this channel, it's family friendly for anybody and everybody. There's no vulgar language. I don't attack people. I don't use bad language. And also, if I'm talking about a player having a bad game or a bad day or a bad year, I'll just talk about that player in a professional way. I don't call the player names. I don't threaten him. I don't attack him like some fans do. I don't go overboard with sports. You haven't had a chance to follow them this year. How are the Dogs doing? If you mean Georgia, they are in the playoffs, and the playoffs start coming up Friday night. There's one game that I'm about to talk to Friday night and 3 games coming up on Saturday. But then Georgia won't play in this first round, so they're off for a couple of more weeks. Hey there, Bryant. Glad to have you here. But after the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl in Tampa between Tulane and Florida, the playoffs start. 8 o'clock Friday night, South Bend, Indiana. We have the number 10 Indiana Hoosiers and the number 7 Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Do I think Bama would have made the playoffs? I think they would, Bryant, if SMU would have beaten Clemson. I think Bama would have gotten that final spot. But of course, there's no way to know now whether I'm right or wrong because Clemson won the game. But that's my personal opinion. I think Bama would have got it. But since Clemson won, Clemson got the final playoff spot. But it's really kind of hard to tell because Bama had 3 losses, Ole Miss had 3 losses, South Carolina had 3 losses. So because of that, if I would have been a voter and Clemson loses to SMU, I would put in Miami just based on the fact they only had 2 losses. To me, winning should mean something. And since the Hurricanes had more wins, they would have got in. But I think Bama would have got that final spot. We have 3 playoff games coming up on Saturday. First is going to be at high noon Eastern time from State College, Pennsylvania. We have the number 11 SMU Mustangs and the number 6 Penn State Nittany Lions. I don't worry about who plays who, Bryant, because to me, first of all, a lot of times you can't help who's on your schedule. You just play the team in front of you. But also, I look at any other sport, and they are now pretty much treating college football just like the NFL. If you look, every time the NFL changes a rule, college football is right behind it. NFL expands their playoffs. What's college do? Expand their playoffs. They're making college football the NFL minor league system. In the NFL, if one team goes 10-7 and one team goes 9-8, they don't check out the 9-8 team schedule and say, well, you lost one more game, but you play in a harder division, so you make the playoffs. No. The team that goes 10-7 makes the playoffs. Why? Because they won more games. If you're going to put a team in the playoffs just because their schedule's tougher, then there's no point in having a win-loss record because wins and losses don't matter. You're telling somebody, well, if you go 7-5 but you play tougher games, you're in the playoffs. To me, that's not right. To me, wins and losses should matter. You are a rodeo guy. Good, Dusty. There was a time back in the day where I watched rodeo almost every single weekend. I've had to cut back some because between all my church activities and between being a professional wrestling referee and my everyday normal job and having 3 small kids, I just couldn't watch it every weekend. And rodeo just about goes year round. But I do still like to watch it, but it pretty much goes every weekend. So I feel like once I miss 2 or 3, it takes me forever to get caught back up. But I'm a huge fan of bull riding and all that kind of good stuff. We have SMU and Penn State. Then at 4 o'clock, Austin, Texas, we have number 12, Clemson, and number 5, Texas. And then at 8 o'clock, Columbus, Ohio, number 9, Tennessee Volunteers, and the number 8, Ohio State Buckeyes. Now, more than likely, at least one of these games, if not 2 of them, are going to be complete blowouts. I don't know which ones it'll be, but I would love to see all 4 of these playoff games come down to the wire and be tight, but I just don't think that'll happen. I think at least one of them ends up being a blowout. But I personally think the best first-round playoff game is going to be Tennessee and Ohio State. I think that was going to be the one that has the most action in it. I could be wrong, but I believe that'll be the best opening round playoff game. I've had about 5 people already tell me they think Clemson beats Texas, and I've told every one of them, well, I appreciate your confidence in Clemson, but I just don't see it. I think it'll be a tight game because Texas doesn't score many points. Now, I'm not sure why. I don't understand how you can have 5-star talent all over the field like Texas has and then go out and on game day score 17. It makes 0 sense to me. I do not understand it, especially when your head coach is an offensive genius and then you go out there and you barely score 20. I don't get it. But because of that fact, I don't think Texas blows out Clemson. But Clemson will do the same thing they did against Georgia, same thing they did against South Carolina. And they'll go out there and they'll score 14-17 maybe, and you're just not going to win in the playoffs by scoring 17 points. It's just not going to happen. So just like the SMU game where they got out to a 14-0 start and they had 64 yards of offense, if that happens, they've got a shot. But as far as just driving up the field from end zone to end zone, putting up yardage and points, they're going to score 14, maybe 17, and that's not good enough to win. So, barring special teams plays or defensive plays, I think Texas wins. But I do think since Texas can't score, it'll be a close game. It's not going to be Texas 35, Clemson 10, nothing like that. I think it's a tight game, but I think Texas wins. But I think the best opening round playoff game is going to be Tennessee and Ohio State. And if Buckeye fans have Ryan Day's seat hot now, if he loses to Tennessee, his seat is going to be scorching. But Ohio State has already said that Ryan Day will return next year, but that's because that's what Ohio State says. There's been a rumor now for a couple of years that Ryan Day, somewhere in the future, is going to be coaching in the NFL. And if he gets tired of his fan base never being happy and complaining all the time, he may end up just leaving on his own accord and going to the NFL, because when you win 11 games a year and it's not good enough, I'm sure that gets old after a while. Any thoughts on any of this, please feel free to let me know. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. Do you ever wonder why socks get along with shoes? It's probably because they just simply fit in. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.